Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contour Chemist. I'm in a different room today. Can you tell what we're talking about? Hint, hint. I haven't done a Demi video in a while, and I've also been asked for a natural light tutorial, full face. So we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty. I'm gonna talk about Demi troubleshooting, the basics, do's and don'ts, all of the things that will help you, especially because of the sale that was going on, or that is still technically going on, hopefully, by the time this video is out. A lot of you guys have jumped on board and are ready to dip your toes in the water of Demi and try it for yourself and experience the magic that is like no other. So if you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. Okay, friends, so I will be honest. It has always been really hard for me to do Demi where I normally film tutorials with my studio lights and all of the things, because I feel like it is hard for you to see what I'm doing, and it's hard for me to see. Like, it doesn't look the same. Natural light is the easiest way to learn Demi. That being said, once you have learned the colors on your face, you can then do it in any other lighting because you're gonna know what you're gonna need. So we're just going to do it in front of the window. I got full natural light, no artificial lights of any kind, so you guys can see my skin in all of its glory. And I hope it's helpful. And I was just gonna say, I hope the sun stays out, and yet now all I can hear is the neighbors mowing their yard. So let's hope he's done soon. I'm sorry. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Okay, let's hope he's done. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Demi troubleshooting, kind of getting started, the very basics as well. I'm gonna take you through my full face, all of it, which I haven't done yet, I don't think. And as I'm going to hit the do's and don'ts, the don'ts that I see the very most of from my clients that have tried it so far. Mistakes that I made when I was first learning, because there was a lot of. Let's get started. If you don't know, there also was just 3 brand new colors released, and let me tell you, they're amazing and they were much needed. So I pulled out some colors that I didn't need, and I put the 3 new orange tones that just came out, so the 03, 05, and 07 in here so you guys can see them. And I took out some that I don't use, which are blues. You might be looking at me and being like, really, you don't need blue, Sarah? Blue is opposite of orange. Orange is actually pretty rare on the face. Blue is mainly only used for depth and shadow, but on my skin tone, purples work better. So I won't get into that right now, but anyway, I don't ever use blue on my face. Orange would be very vibrant. I don't have that, even though I'm a self-tanner. Okay, rule number 1, colors on your skin are nothing like they look on a white sheet of paper. Okay, so if you are trying to find a color, you might be like, oh, Sarah, you look more orange than anything else. No, colors, because you have layers of skin and water and cells and everything. Your skin color itself plays a part in the color you're seeing, obviously, right? So orange is actually very rare on the face because orange is a very vibrant color. Orange, red. So misconception number 1 that I hear the most of is, well, I'm gonna need green because I have a lot of redness. And I will admit, I was definitely in that category that I was like, I have redness. I talk about my redness all the time. I'm always using a color corrector with 3D. But with Demi, the redness, what we call redness on our face, is actually not red. Okay, so I don't have a good example of redness today. I did not wake up with a giant blemish. I got a little one over here, but he's not angry. So if you think of a red stop sign, okay, literally a red, angry zit that looks hot to the touch, that is the only time you are gonna need to use green. Otherwise, what we call redness, like even around our nose from broken capillaries, all those things that we normally thought was red isn't actually red, okay? Because our skin plays a huge part in that. So red versus purple is huge with Demi. When you learn that and can recognize that, stop trying to use green here. You'll notice the first time you try it, it doesn't work. If it doesn't disappear, it's the wrong color. I keep having to catch my palette because I'm like straddling my tripod. So anyway, red versus purple, learning that colors on your face are very different than what they look like on here. So this would probably be what would look, I'm not super red today. This is probably what looks most red on my face at the moment. And you notice that it's not vibrant. It doesn't look hot. It doesn't look saturated. It actually looks more dark, okay? When something is both dark and tends to look more on the reddish side, it's actually purple, okay? So when we get down to this purple, it's because it has more blue in it. So you'll see, I can't actually use green on this. It pulls textured. It immediately looks wrong. It immediately looks like makeup or something on my face. It looks chalky. It isn't correct. But I can use, you know, this yellow orange to counteract the blue and purple that's creating that. And it's a whole nother ball game. So first of all, being able to recognize when a color is wrong. The colors on your face are going to be different. So your face, you will learn, is its own color wheel. And once you're able to recognize, okay, this is excess, you know, orange, this is excess green, wherever those points of darkness on your face, the first time you try it, it's trial and error. With this this is a completely new way of thinking about makeup. It's trial and error the first time you try it, the first few times you try it. Then you learn what colors are on your face. You can still use a color wheel to kind of be like, okay, if this is excess blue, then I need to use orange, okay? This is handy. You will need to be able to kind of learn this for a bit. It takes some time, takes some practice, and then it gets faster every time. So number one, forget what you think you know what a color looks like. It'll look different on your skin. Okay, so first thing I've seen people do is they apply this like they would 3D foundation, okay? Our 3D foundation can be applied just in certain areas, but most people apply it all over, okay? So we contour where the contour goes, we brighten, okay? You should never have a big brush and be just like sweeping large patches and going across your entire face, okay? So the first thing you gotta realize with Demi, your entire face will not be covered with product when you are done. In fact, you will be shocked at how many areas of your face you can leave uncovered. Me, for example, I'll be honest, when I first started Demi, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I like a very medium coverage. I like my freckles to be very evened out. And I have a lot of distractions. I have a lot of spots. And I'm like, I am not gonna pinpoint every single one of those spots to filter them, right? But part of the magic of Demi is realizing once you kind of filter one distraction, you might see a few more darker points, but then once you hit the darkest points first, the rest of it just kind of disappears. It's incredible how like an entire patch of redness you think is all red, when in fact there's darker points just within that. And once you filter those, the rest just kind of blends in with the rest of your skin. It's kind of incredible. It's kind of hard to describe until you experience it for yourself and actually try it and realize how very little product you're gonna be needing on your face. Number two, do not apply it to your full face. Don't think of it as a foundation. I don't consider this a foundation. It's in a league all by itself. I don't call it foundation. A foundation is something applied to your full face, and this is not. So forget what you know about makeup. We're only gonna be touching color to color. We're only gonna filtering what we need and what we find the most distracting first. So that being said, I'm asked all the time, okay, what about a primer or a powder to set it? It's not a foundation. You don't need a primer. You don't need a powder. So since you're using so very little, it's actually gonna be kind of however your skin is during the day. I'll be honest, when I first started transitioning from wearing 3D foundation to Demi, I noticed my skin was slightly drier. And that's because 3D foundation is an occlusive foundation, meaning it holds all the moisture in on your skin. You don't have any transepidermal water loss during the day. So all of that water that you can lose through Demi. So know that you might actually need a moisturizer before your Demi, when before with 3D you didn't. If you are excessively oily, I feel like that is the only time that you might use maybe a mattifying sunscreen, something like that. I only have sunscreen on. That is it. And that's all I put beneath my makeup. With powder, you use so very little, you don't have to set it. It's not gonna move. It behaves as more like a stain than something that's gonna like rub off as you touch your face or rub off on your clothes or anything like that. Okay, so let's just get into it. And I'm gonna show you kind of what I find is the best practices, because I will be honest, if you start with filtering just your distractions, you're going to very easily, it can lead to you overdoing it or not being able to pull yourself back and look and be like, I don't need any more. It can be really easy to get a mirror and zoom in really close and start hitting every single point when you're this close to your face, okay? But I always say, zoom in, learn the colors of your face, and then take a step back, 3 feet back, and look at yourself and be like, do I see any more distractions? Because very common, nobody looks at your face this close, right? Nobody looks at you that closely. You might. Throw your magnifying mirror away. I don't recommend that. Just get a normal mirror. A well-lit mirror can be really helpful. Okay, so when I'm learning my colors in my face, I will look at a mirror and I'll look up close so I can see it in natural light or with daylight bulbs. Daylight is key, and because you don't want it to be pulling you too warm with like normal incandescent lighting. Take a step back, okay? Less is more with Demi. The whole point of Demi is to not apply it to the full face, to use the least amount of possible to get the look you want and to feel good in your skin. So let's get started and let's talk about the difference between what we call toning versus filtering, okay? So there's a difference. When we're using these level 1s, level 3s, okay, these lighter colors that are meant to brighten, that is what is filtering distractions, okay? That's what we're placing over these dark spots, over blemishes, making them disappear and kind of just disappear into the rest of our skin, okay? We're not adding color, we're filtering out the excess color that's already on our skin, right? So, excess orange or green makes the dark spots, makes the hyperpigmentation. We're gonna use the color wheel, we're gonna go opposite of that. We're gonna pick the color according to the complementary color, and we're gonna use the least amount possible at that point to filter the distraction, make it go away. The opposite of that is when we're wanting to add color. So if you're familiar with 3D foundation, we call it contouring, okay? In Demi world, we call it sculpting, and we have a series of neutral colors that have a little bit of color that we can still use in certain areas, but they're gonna create more of that shadow, that depth, that dimension that we get from contouring, right? But it does have a small amount of color in it that's going to tone whatever's underneath it. Okay, it's going to be adding color though. We're not putting a sculpt anywhere that we're wanting to filter, anywhere that we're wanting to get rid of excess color. We're just going to kind of use it to tone. So if you have areas of like green here, we can use opposite, which is red. We can use that neutral red to tone the area at the same time we're adding the color of a contour, okay? Adding that shadow. Now, the other way we can do it is we can use a saturated form of the color we want. Similar to if you are the type of person that likes to add a bronzer under your foundation or uses foundation to even out their skin tone, we can use toning in the same way. We are adding color similar to a bronzer. So say you are very fair, but have a lot of ashiness in your skin. So I am not a very good example of this because I am a self-tanner girl. I have a lot more warmth in my skin. My skin is actually very green. It's not very blue. So if you have a lot of blue in your skin, one of our new colors is perfect for you. So this 05, you can use that. You can use literally the smallest amount possible, and you can tone your skin and add that warmth back to your skin. It's going to kind of create that vibrancy, give you almost that bronzer-esque look. You can do the same thing with some of these sculpts. So I like to use NR, which is the neutral red, because I have so much hyperpigmentation. So if you look in this area, I'm very green, okay? Now this method doesn't give coverage, so don't think of it as like when we put Bella bronzer underneath and then we have to use very little highlight because it gave some coverage. This doesn't give coverage. This just gives some warmth to the skin. So I'm gonna use the shape brush and I'm gonna kind of squeeze it to fit inside that little tin, okay? And then I'm just going to barely wash it over, okay? This is the only time you are going to be applying color to a large area of your face. The only time. When you get to filtering, it is the complete opposite, okay? Can you see how the green kind of just went away? Okay, and you can see the green here. Okay, and so you can repeat this and really pay attention to the undertones in your skin. So because I have a lot of hyperpigmentation, that's why I use the neutral red a lot to contour. So I'm gonna go ahead. If you can look at my face, I have a natural shadow here, okay? But it kind of stops and it's like right there. This is all just hyperpigmentation, okay? I'm gonna kind of use that, okay? I'm gonna kind of tone it at the same time that I'm gonna add that sculpt. Now, I like to sculpt and tone before I ever filter, okay? You use far less, and you're going to see far less distractions when you already have some color and some dimension in your face. And I also like to add blush first because you can tell, you might not, but I naturally have warmth in my face. I don't necessarily need to filter that out first and then add the color back. I'm gonna use the natural flush I already have, and then I'll be able to go back in and kind of filter in those areas that just need it. In this area, I don't necessarily want this light and bright. I don't want it looking sculpted and contoured either. So I used the NR -1 to get rid of that green around my face, around my mouth. Okay, so I also have the same kind of green down here. Okay, and again, we're just kind of toning out, getting rid of some of that excess color. Okay, when you apply this, you shouldn't be seeing a lot of difference. You shouldn't be seeing saturation, anything like that. just a little bit of warmth and glow brought back to your skin. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and contour this area. Again, I'm gonna use the NR because I have this hyperpigmentation. Right through here. Okay, now you can probably tell how much blood I brought to the surface of my skin there. So one of the other things I see a lot of people do is not realize that it depends on your skin. Everybody's very different, but I like to say place and pray, okay? Add your color, go to the other side, let this kind of tone down a bit. As if your skin is like mine, like you touch your nose and then suddenly it becomes red. A lot of areas around here have a lot of extra capillaries that really can bring blood to the surface quickly. So you need to realize that certain areas of your face might do that. And when you're placing that color, go to the next thing, wait till this tones down a bit, and then you can go back to it. So be careful not to keep overdoing it. You can easily, the color's not working or not doing anything, but, or it can lead to over brightening, over filtering. Okay, see, like that looks like I just added blush to my face. It's not blush, it's contour. But you can tell it's already starting to tone down over on this side. Okay, now that that's kind of toned down, now I like to go back and I like to add depth, okay? So for me, this tones it, but it's not adding the shadow look that I like. I feel like I've got not a horrible looking shadow, but I'm going to kind of clean it up a little bit. I have like an area here that you can kind of tell it's kind of like void of hyperpigmentation, but the rest of it is. So I'm gonna go back in with my NV +1, okay? I'm gonna pinch this again, and this is where I'm gonna just add it for depth. So I'm gonna go back to the darkest part back by my ear. Okay, so when we're wanting to add darkness, what is darkness on our face? You guys remember? It's excess blue, okay? So, okay, blue is always darker. So these blue and violets are what gives the best darkness, okay, and shadow. Okay, so when we have those shadowed points, that is excess blue. But it depends on your skin tone if you want to like add the NB or the NV. It just kind of varies. The NB looks dirty on me, okay, but NV +1 looks very natural and looks like a natural shadow because I have more yellow in my skin than orange. So it just kind of depends on your skin tone. You guys know me, I like a very contoured look, so that will give it to me. Right in the middle of my forehead. Over here, I was very green. I got that taken care of. I really don't have anything there that needs toning. So again, that's where I'm gonna add the NV +1 and give a little bit more of a shadow, kind of frame out my forehead. Okay, another one that's really good for adding that warmth is NO. So if you like the bronzer look, NO is a great one as well. You can kind of warm up any areas of your face. Now, after the toning step and the sculpting, you can always filter and then go back and very gently add more. You just have to be careful that you're not gonna move around any product. I like to sculpt my nose before I filter because I feel like I've got a lot of spots. I have a lot of hyperpigmentation on my nose. So I really want to kind of tone what I can with my sculpt to kind of give that shadow effect. So I love the blur brush for that. This has got a nice dense in. That's really good for nose. And again, I'm gonna use both of those. I'm gonna use the NR, where I have hyperpigmentation, where I have the most spots. And then as I get closer to the end of my nose, I'm really not very red today. But you'll see as soon as I start touching it, it will get red. I'm gonna use the NV+1 for when I want more shadow, more depth. And I might use a little bit of in green on the end where I have a little bit more redness. So let's do it. Okay, so hopefully you guys can kind of see how I already created some depth there, and it will pop once we brighten the middle. And I have to filter kind of the sides, because that is one of my biggest distractions, for me at least, is the fact that my nose is so much darker than the rest of my face. I want it to kind of blend all together. Okay. Another don't that I always see is that people want to go straight to their biggest distraction first, which is usually the under eyes, okay? What I find is by sculpting, toning, and yes, even sculpting out the eyes, we will be much less likely to overdo it on the eyes. I feel like the biggest issue is people wanting to kind of just make the entire under eye void of color, and then it just looks chalky and it doesn't look natural. So we're gonna sculpt out the eyes. Okay, so same premise goes with doing the eyes. If you look, I don't know, let's see how well I can see in this camera. So my eyes, I have a lot of veins, so I'm really dark through here, but I'm just gonna concentrate on my actual, where I would actually place eyeshadow, okay? You can totally do a full eye look, very natural, or a lot warmer, or however you want to do it, but the same kind of concept applies. You just have to think of, okay, what color is it and what color do you want it to become? So for me, my under eyes, I'm gonna have to bust out the mirror, are very purple, okay? So in order for me to, let's see, I don't want to use a yellow and just make it look brightened. I want a natural shadow. If you guys have seen, I always halo under my eyes and create depth there as like a natural eyeliner. I think it looks so beautiful, and it, I feel like, makes me look younger if I have that natural kind of, you know, lived in looking shadow. So I'm not gonna use yellow. That is going to make it just look brightened and filter out all that excess purple. So what are my options? Okay, so I'm gonna do a couple different ones and show you the difference. Oh my gosh, if I can do this in camera. Okay, so I can add in R, it's gonna give me a very warm look, right? So we're not taking out much, we're just adding warmth. Okay, or I can add green, which will kind of take out some of that purple and add a little bit of depth. Say you over brighten, or you add yellow, kind of get rid of it, and you're like, I need shadow now. Go back to your shadow colors, blue or violet, and then add your depth back, okay? With time, you'll kind of learn what color will get you to where you want to be. But I definitely recommend framing out your eyes before you do your under eyes. I promise it'll help so much. So That now I've got the same kind of thing going on at my lid here. I've got a lot of purple. So sometimes I just like to go in with like the 03. Take out the purple tones completely. If you can tell, I've got a lot of blue and purple veins. Okay, I'm just gonna hit where I see a vein. Now, depending if you want depth on your eyes, you could go darker, more saturated, or you could stick with the level 1 if you want it brightened it. So if I want to just brighten right here on my eye, I can use a level 1. If I want to then just kind of focus on my crease, I can use Orange Sculpt. So this is the NO. Want more warmth in R. You guys know me, I love a warm eye. Okay, just natural and just where you need it to frame it. Pinpoint more like eyeliner and use the NV really close. To give some depth, shadow at the lash line. Really, you can do anything you want as long as you know how the colors work. And I haven't filtered around my eyes or anything yet, but you can tell the difference already. One of the most fun things to do is using some colors to brighten. So if you look above your brow, pay attention to kind of what color that is. Mine is very just yellow, right? Okay, just like you would with traditional eyeshadow, to brighten that and lift there. All right, guys, so we've done toning, sculpting. We sculpted our eyes, so we got our eyeshadow on. Next is I like to go ahead and do blush, and you can tell I'm like starting to get hot. So my cheeks are more flushed than they were when I started this video. I can feel like the heat, right? So I'm going to need very, very, very little blush. I like to take into account everything that's going on in this area before I put blush on, okay? Obviously, this is a whole nother ballgame, and we'll filter that in a minute. But I've already got a lot of warmth here. I have green in there, okay? I've got purple, because we already talked about this is not red, this is purple. Okay, so to kind of tone down that purple, okay, so purple needs yellow, green needs red. So we don't have a red yellow, but we have a red orange. And that orange takes out the excess blue in the purple, which, what is purple without blue? It's just a lighter version, okay? It's more the red violet, right? So it's going to be very pink, okay? It's already gonna be pink. So I'm gonna have to make sure I'm using a color that's not gonna make it pull too pink, so I'm not gonna go with straight up R or too much violet because I already have violet here, okay? I need to go opposite end, okay? Don't want too much violet, don't want too much red, okay? I need to go back into the orange, okay? So that we have some of those blue tones minimized, okay? It's gonna take care of some of that redness. It's actually purple. I hope that made sense. Okay, so I'm gonna go with RO5. I'm gonna go with just the small brush. And as I apply it, my face turns more red because I'm bringing blood to the surface. Okay, so we're just gonna act like that spot doesn't exist and we're gonna filter it here in a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna use that natural flush I already have. It'll tone down a little bit as I'm not so hot and all that blood goes away. Okay, and like I said before, they zoom in too close and they just start, you know, doing every point on their face and it becomes too tedious and too time consuming. And nobody has time for that. Okay, so that's why we always say pick 3 distractions, start there. So mine's gonna be this spot, my nose, and my under eyes. And that's all I'm gonna hit. Is when we try to filter too large of an area. So we did tone, and that is the only time you're ever gonna sweep anything on the face with Demi. But like my giant spot is a big example because we need to look at points at our face as the darkest points possible. And we need to think of the size of a sesame seed. Okay, very small. If it is larger than the size of a sesame seed, it is more than one color. Okay, so the biggest mistake I see people doing is taking your spot brush and saying, this is hyperpigmentation. Hyperpigmentation is usually green. I'm gonna go with a red and I'm gonna just put it on this entire spot. And then they wonder why it's not disappearing. Well, I don't have the right color. That's because you're trying to, if you zoom in real close, this spot, you can tell, as I threw my spot, has darker spots within it. So there's a darker point up here, right there, down here, okay? And then in the middle, it's actually lighter, okay? But we're gonna hit those darkest points first. And know that this isn't one color, and know that it's gonna take multiple colors to get rid of it. Even a blemish, a pimple, which is pretty tiny, is rarely ever one color. Sometimes it's got, you know, a dark point in it that's healing, that's more purple blue, and it's got redness around it. Usually always, every spot's got a darker point. Even redness have darker points within it, okay? So remember, size of a sesame seed, know that you're not playing one color over any area larger than that, okay? So next thing is using a brush that matches the size of what you're trying to filter, okay? The spot brush is the #1 brush you're gonna use because everyone has very small points that need filtered. They don't have large areas. With Demi, we don't have large areas. We have what we think is a large area, which is actually just dark points within that area, okay? So we're gonna hit them with the spot brush. We're gonna use the least amount possible. I feel like this is the thing that was hardest for me because when I first started trying to do this spot, this is what I would do. Okay, I would kind of swipe on like that, and I'd get some product on my brush, and then I'd put it, and then I'd be like, oh, okay, that's a lot. We'll go like this. We'll try to kind of move it around, okay? No matter what, you're gonna see that, okay? So there's still so much left on my brush. That's still too much product, all right? So when I say use the least amount possible, it truly is like so very little. You shouldn't be able to see it on your brush, and you shouldn't, it's almost like you're not applying color to your face. It's like you're wiping it off, okay? So that was the biggest mistake I made, is that I kept just applying and applying and applying more, and no matter what, I could see texture. And I was like, but I thought with Demi, you're not supposed to be able to see any texture. It's because I was seeing the texture of the product I was laying down, which if you're using the right amount of product, you won't see it at all. It's like magic. It's like you don't even see it doing its job. And then you like back up and you're like, whoa, it's disappeared, okay? So too much can look chalky. It'll look like the wrong color. It'll crease, all of those things. If you're using the right amount, it's almost like goes on like a sheer stain, okay? That's part of the magic. So when I say pick it up a small amount, and no joke, can you see it? Can't see it. You shouldn't be able to see it, okay? Then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna say, where's the darkest point? And I'm gonna look at the entire area I'm trying to filter, and I'm gonna find the darkest point. And then I'm just gonna slowly, and I forgot I wasn't using the right color. That was 01. Okay, now that we have 03, it actually works better. So I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna use a little bit of 03. Okay, let's try that again. It did work a little bit, but if I use too much of that, it actually pulls a little bit too chalky. Okay, if it's pulling too cool, means you need to go darker. Okay, you see how I touch that? You see how I can see it on my face? Okay, either use your finger, take off excess, or move that around where you need to. Okay, this kind of just moves it, takes it off as well. I feel like this can very gently, like, doesn't bring as much blood to the surface. Okay, so yes, this is a spot of hyperpigmentation, but the darkest points within it are too dark for just straight red, or even red O or orange red. I need a darker, which is 03. I don't know if you guys can see how very little. I'm using. It's starting to disappear. See how I just hit, I don't know if you guys can see, I just hit the darkest points, and it's already like, I would be happy with just that. Like, it's already no longer distracting in the darkest point of my face, but I'm not even done yet. That is just using one color to hit those dark points, okay? But one of the things I feel like that people also do is like over filter one area too much by concentrating on one point. So one thing that might help you, this is especially true with under eyes, just kind of focusing in on one under eye, then moving to the next. Sometimes it's easier to start with one color, say that 03 that I was using, okay? And then I'm gonna use 03 on all of the points of darkness that are that dark on my face first, before moving on to the next color. That saves me from over brightening an area too much, and over analyzing it or making it look chalky or anything like that. And if you're still learning your face, you can easily be like, okay, this is about the same darkness as that, so I'm gonna go with that. Like, I have a dark point right there. It really isn't distracting, but just for education's sake, nothing would get rid of it until we had 03, and now it disappears, okay? So you can vary. Now, I have no idea what that guy is. Like, that was not there yesterday. It's pretty dark. I think I'm gonna need the 03 on that. That's another thing is don't feel like you have to use the same color in the same spot every time. Know that your skin changes day to day, okay? And that's why the edits are kind of arranged in the way they are. That's why having multiple colors is so helpful because like for me, I wasn't this red when I started and then I got more red. Your skin changes throughout the day. Your skin changes day to day. Your coloring changes. If you're a self-tanner, it changes. So know that your skin will change. Once you learn the basics of your face, it's very easy to make those simple tweaks though. Too much. I'm gonna wipe off excess on my hand and go back in. I have no idea what that is. I think I might have popped a pimple and it bruised my nose. So I can tell there's a little bit of purple left. So I'm gonna go into one of these bad boys. Let's go in. So if you use a color, doesn't disappear, try another one. You can even kind of gently wipe it off. Go into OY1. Yeah, I think it is a bruise. You hit the purple, you can go back in. Hit the darkest points. Okay, let's finish up this guy, even though I can barely see him now. Okay, so once I hit the darkest points, now what's left is hyperpigmentation. Hyperpigmentation is usually just excess green. So we're gonna go to the red family. So R1, OR1, RO1. So I already hit the darkest points of orange, so I think I'm just gonna go with the OR1. Just a little bit more red in it. I would stop right there because it's no longer distracting. If I looked close enough, could I see it? Maybe in some lights, but to me, it's no longer the darkest point in my face. Now I'm going to start moving up to the under eye area, which my under eyes are mainly hyperpigmentation, and that is also what my nose is. So let's go to a different area that's a little different real quick. Noses. So I talked about this a little bit before. Most of the time we've got a lot of broken capillaries right there, which we would think would be red, but they're actually purple, okay? They're both vibrant, okay? That's what's making them appear red. And then they are dark. You can see how dark this area of my nose is, okay? So yellow, orange, 1 works wonders. For the darkness, you can use orange as well. So I kind of use a little bit of the 03 where it's the darkest. Picked up way too much there. Okay, and then as I move down here, broken capillaries, be gone. Okay, and then I'm gonna kind of move up the side of my nose, and I do have more broken capillaries on both sides that kind of make them look a little bit more red. Okay, and then I have dark points, going back to the orange. Now I want this side of my nose to be lighter, so it kind of will make my nose contour pop a little bit more. So you can see that I still have hyperpigmentation, it's just not quite as dark. So I'm just gonna move to a lighter R01. Again, I'm still using the spot brush because I'm still pinpointing. Okay, so my nose is pretty much done except for the brightener. Well, I say that and then I look in the mirror and it looks different. It's because I need to filter the middle because I got a spot right there. So we want to keep that bright. That is what's going to give that highlighted look down the center. So on spots where I have hyperpigmentation, I'm sticking with the R01. Okay, then I don't have any there. Tip of my nose is a little nothing. So I'm gonna use a little bit of violet right there where I'm a little bit more yellow. Just on the tip. Cool thing about the Demi nose is you don't have to worry about weird lines from any angle. I'm gonna hit the hyperpigmentation around my eyes. For me, that is number one, what creates the look of darkness around my eyes. So I'm gonna do that first. So here is where hyperpigmentation naturally pulls our eye socket, okay? This area, as we age, we have a lot of junction of like capillaries and veins right there. So that is why we have more hyperpigmentation in this area than anywhere else on our face. So that I have a lot of different varying colors of hyperpigmentation. Some of the lighter ones, I have to go all the way down to violet. If they look more yellow-green, we use that one. And then the darker they are, the more we go towards the orange side. So I have them in order here, and I just do it based on the color wheel of my face. And again, I'm not going to hit every point. I am looking for the darkest points first and only the ones that are making it look like I have a dark circle underneath my eye. So we're gonna start with the oranges. Okay, darkest points are gonna use 03. Okay, and I tend to have this kind of like line of hyperpigmentation right here that I want to kind of blur out. So I'm gonna hit anything along that line as well. You'll notice if you've already done your eyes, you have to do far less in this region than you would have had to do otherwise. So hopefully you can see already the difference. Okay, the cool thing about Demi is that you can move and kind of, I haven't done the inner corner of my eye, but you can look for shadows and then kind of erase those shadows. I mean, you can't erase every contour of your face, but you can disguise them so easily. So now that I hit just those hyperpigmentation, I have a lot more than probably most people, I'm going to hit the darkest points inside my eyes. So I have very dark points right here and they're very blue. So again, I'm using that 03. Okay, and I didn't really correct the vein going up into my eye earlier because I wasn't filtering that yet. So I'm gonna use 01. There. Okay, and then more 03. So I feel like pretty much all of this area is just blue. So I'm gonna use more 01. I like to use the bright brush for around the eyes so that I'm not over brightening. Feather-like strokes, trying to just get those darkest points. My darkest points are all that hyperpigmentation, so this is just kind of getting rid of those blue tones. A little bit more muddiness out here, so I'm gonna use some of the OR. Didn't really go away, so I'm gonna use RO instead. There we go. What was my advice? Take a step back, okay? Make sure we're not over brightening. The easiest thing to do is make it end up looking like your under eyes are white and chalky, okay? The under eyes or any part of your face, we're not looking to make it a shade of beige or void of color. We have a lot of color in our skin, okay? So we want that variance in color. That's what makes us look alive. That's what makes it look like skin and not like makeup. That was the last mistake, trying to void of all color. So I don't mind that there's a little bit of color variance. I feel like I'm not getting any texture under my eyes, and you guys, I still have texture issues going on, and you can't see it because with Demi, it doesn't exaggerate any texture that you already have on your face. It helps actually make it look like you don't have texture. Friends, I'm gonna shut up. Let's finish with the lips. So I don't know about you guys, but I have like the driest lips ever. So I like to start with balm. I love this stuff. If you don't like coconuts, I'm sorry. It's coconut scented. Luckily, coconuts are one of my favorite smells, so I'm good. All right, so the first thing when we are sculpting lips is we can look at the color around your vermilion border, which is pretty much your lip line, okay? You wanna look for the color, and then you want to pick a sculpt that's gonna give you a natural shadow and kind of tone that area just like we normally do. So for me, I'm very like void of color around my lips. So for the top lip line, I like to use the NV, okay? And I kind of use a couple different ways. The bright brush, NV, just kind of tone that. And then I'm going to use the spot brush to kind of line with the NV+1. This will give that shadow. I am kind of lacking a lip line, so this gives me definition. Okay, you want to do it right outside of your natural lip line so it makes more of a poutier lip. Creates the illusion of that shadow. Remember, this color gives depth. Okay, so this one isn't toning as much as creating the look of that shadow. Okay, so bottom, I have some hyperpigmentation. So I'm gonna use some NR. okay? Now, when it comes to highlighting, in order to make your Cupid's bow pop, it's just like around the eyes, you kind of use the opposite. Okay, so again, I'm gonna kind of use purple. We're gonna go in the violet V1. Ooh, just dug in way too much of that one. Okay, it kind of brings that forward. All right, so lips. I feel like Demi lips are very different than 3D lips. You don't really want to dig into these with your fingers. They're way too pigmented. I kind of learned that the hard way. They're best applied with a brush and just think of them as a stain because they act like a stain on your lips, which is awesome. They don't really, you don't have to reapply and all that kind of stuff. But if you go in digging, everything's gonna look way too pigmented and chalky, and it's gonna make your lips look really dry as well because the formulation is so different. You can go as in depth as you want. So, my lips I've got some like places that kind of need a little bit of correction. They're kind of like, I don't know, blue. Okay, I'm gonna use orange. See, I already used too much. Really, he's mowing that yard again? I'm gonna lose it, guys. Okay, my lips are very purpley blue. So I'm gonna go in. I got this one. Can you tell this one's my lip brush? What should we do? Let's do something. Let's just do a pretty pink shade. Let's try something fun. Let's do R07. That's this one. You can tell where I kind of wiped off the pigmentation that's on top is not always the color underneath. So just FYI. Okay. And then you're just gonna do a wash. This one's got a lot of orange in it to kind of take out those blue tones in my lip. So you can tell it doesn't look very orange, it looks very pink on me. Sometimes I like to put a little, this one's one of my favorites. It has like black cherry. Which one's this? This is RV7. I pretty much will put this over everything if you want to put a little bit more purple in it. Okay, then I like to top it with the gloss. My lips need the moisture. Okay. Then you can take either the gloss or the balm, use it on your cheekbones. So once you've completely toned, filtered, sculpted, all of the things, now you can look and be like, all right, do I need any more warmth? Do I need any of that? You can totally go back and you can gently add a little bit more of that 05 or the NR Sculpt or anything like that to add more warmth to your face if you're feeling washed out. One of the things that can easily wash you out the most is just over brightening way too much. And then you feel like you're just washed out all over. But I feel like the toning can really help you avoid that issue. Once you've completely toned, filtered everything, you can go back and you can do kind of an illuminator of sorts. You can use a little bit of that same brightener. Hit the high cheekbones. Okay, but you have to filter first. Then you can use your gloss or balm over that to add that dewy look to your cheeks as well. Okay, guys, I think we hit it all. I think I did pretty good. I did not hit any more distractions other than this guy, my under eyes, sides of my nose. And yeah. All right, guys, that's it. Full face of Demi, some troubleshooting, some things to look out for, some do's and don'ts. I hope that helps. I know it can be really overwhelming for such a completely different concept of doing makeup and of the color wheel and color science and all of those things, but let me tell you, you will never feel more like an artist than being able to use color science on your own face and make things disappear. It's absolutely incredible. Once you get past the learning curve and learning the colors in your skin, because everybody's face is so different, just learn the basics and I promise you're gonna fall in love with your skin. Like, never would I have realized how very little makeup I can wear and how happy I am with my skin and looking like I'm not wearing anything at all. It's absolutely kind of crazy freeing, right? So if you are interested in trying Demi for the very first time, if you have not been color matched, my color match questionnaire is in the link below the video. I'm happy to help you and tell you all of your options and what edits you would need. Once you purchase, I send you all my tips and tricks with step-by-step application instructions so that you can learn it the right way and love it from the very beginning. As always, thank you for watching and I hope that helped. Love you guys. Bye.